gonna do it yet.
Okay, Councilor, ready? Welcome everyone to our council meeting for Monday, June 26th. Please remember to turn off all cell phones, pagers, and PDAs to be turned off. Additionally, for your information, please be advised that we are audio-video recording tonight's council meeting. Could you all rise for the singing of O Canada and remain standing for the opening petition by Councillor Bell. Councillor Bosma? O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons commend. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and the pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens.
Amen. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's council meeting. Councilors, we'll start off our council meeting tonight with change of order of items on the agenda. Is there any change? Madam Clerk, seeing none, we'll then move on to disclosure of pecuniary interest and/or conflict of interest. Councilors, is there any disclosure? Madam Clerk, seeing none too as well. 5, we'll move on to request to address items on the agenda. Request to address items on the agenda are restricted to specific items as follows per section 6.7 of the procedural bylaw. Is there any members of the gallery who would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to appointments and presentations. The first one is under my name, Mayor Douglas Joyner, Linda Arbuckle, Office Manager for the Honourable Dean Allison MP, and Honourable Sam Osteroff, MPP, are in attendance tonight. Welcome. The presentation of the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers to Mrs. Margaret Merritt on behalf of His Excellency, the Right Honourable David Johnston, Governor General of Canada. So I'll make a presentation from the podium. Mrs. Merritt, are you here? Right there? You sure? Just go right up to the front there if you could.
Where?
Right up in front of the West Lincoln sign. Hi, how are you? Good, good. I said it there. Family, this is where you get your cameras, okay? Okay. Okay, you got the camera? Good, good. Well, you guys go up there too as well. We'll come join you.
Oh, that's good. Now I don't feel so bad.
It says, Dear Margaret, at my installation as Governor General, I refer to my role as a call to service and pledge to answer that call by serving as a bridge to bring Canadians together to create a smarter and more caring nation. Volunteers like you are fundamental to the well-being of our country, reflecting the rich diversity of Canada's people and the many talents and interests which enrich our society. What they have in common is the support they provide to their communities at the grassroots level and the positive impact they have on the lives of others, helping to make our neighborhoods and our nation stronger. The Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers celebrates such individuals who give so much of themselves to others and to thank them for their contributions. Accordingly, it is my very great pleasure to give you this medal and to welcome you to the ranks of caring Canadians. Thank you for everything you do. You have made your community and our country stronger. And again, please accept my congratulations. Warmest regards, Governor General of Canada, Mr. David Johnston. So we have a couple things up here for you. Actually, I'll come up to the front. They've sent along a very nice medal, a pen, and and a Governor General scratch pad. And also they've sent along this very nice Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers. It's in recognition of our significant volunteer contributions, and it's signed by the Governor General of Canada, David Johnson. So we'll present that to you.
Maybe I know that you have something too as well, so can you go next? It's L.
Sam?
So congratulations. Prior to that, so I have those and for
This is from the Governor General. That's what it looks like right there. And here's one that looks like this, and there's also one that actually tells what the actual medal is all about, the color of the ribbon and the front side and the back side of the medal too as well. So if you want, and maybe if you could just hold that quickly, and then. On behalf of the Governor General of Canada, I'd like to present you with the Sovereign's Medal of Volunteer. Congratulations.
Living for 10 years on their board, and then I'm community care now, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So a lot of years of volunteer. Very good. Thank you.
So, well, I'll hold part of it. It's neat. And that way, we can all get into your family and take a photo.
Very good. Let's put our hands together again.
And thank you.
Okay, see you. So this is yours too as well.
Thank you.
And here's the fact sheet that they tell you about the Sovereign Medal for Volunteers and what it stands for, the front side and the reverse side and the ribbon and things like that, the colors and what went into actually designing this medal. So it's very informative for you to take home and keep.
I understand it's very honoring to receive
Very
it.
much so. Very much so. You were the. Oh.
Thank you.
I have a certificate for you too as well.
My goodness.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. 6B is Mr. John Arian's IBI group. He was going to be here to talk about the Northwest Quadrant secondary plan. He had a PowerPoint presentation, but earlier today, Mr. Arians called and said that he will be withdrawing his presentation and delegation before us today. So we'll move on to confirmation of minutes. Council minutes regular, May 23rd, 2017. Confidential minutes are under separate cover. Councillor Bell, you have that resolution, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bilsma that the minutes of the open session portion of May 23rd, 2017 regular council meeting be accepted, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of May 23rd, 2017 regular council meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exceptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you. Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Bell and seconded by Councillor Bilsma. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. B, council minutes, special council minutes, June 19, 2017. These are confidential minutes under separate cover. Councillor Bilesma, you have that resolution, please.
I do. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Gann. That the minutes of the open session portion of June 19, 2017 special council meeting be accepted, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the June 19, 2017 special council meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act.
Councillors, you have heard the resolution moved by Councillor Bilesma and seconded by Councillor Gann. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. C, public meetings under the Planning Act, June 12, 2017 minutes. Councillor Chichuk, you have that resolution, please.
I do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. And this is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Jason Trombetta, that the minutes of the public meeting held June 12th under Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to a zoning bylaw amendment for B&E Heaslip Farms, file number 1601-00717, and the zoning bylaw amendment for Leonard and Lynn Snippa, Mitch and Elsie Snippa, file number 1601-00817 be accepted.
Thank you. Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Chichuk and seconded by Councillor Trombetta. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. D is road naming public meeting, Stepping Stones Plan of Condominium. This is from the June 12, 2017 minutes. Councillor Gann, you have that resolution, please.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bilsma that the minutes of the public meeting held on June 12, 2017, under the Municipal Act and the Township of West Lincoln's procedural bylaw and street naming policy with respect to the naming of the street in the Stepping Stones Plan of Condominium be accepted.
Be accepted.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Gann and seconded by Councillor Bilesma. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. There are no communications for tonight. We'll move on to Mayor's remarks. Here are my Mayor's remarks for the month of June 2017. As co-chair of Public Health and Social Services for the Niagara region, I was thrilled to join hundreds of residents and dignitaries from across Niagara to celebrate Pathstone's new home of children's mental health. The official grand opening and ribbon-cutting ceremony of the Branscombe Mental Health Center on Friday, June 16th, saw hundreds of people walk through this state-of-the-art facility. This state-of-the-art facility can be seen as a symbol of hope for children, youth, and families dealing with mental health issues. And the construction of Branscombe will be a grateful tribute to all those who made it possible. On Wednesday, July 5th, the Township of West Lincoln invites all residents to a stakeholders meeting at the Smithville Fort location, that's behind the Smithville United Church, to discuss the design of the skate park that will be located at our new MERS site. Please join West Lincoln staff, our project manager, and a representative from Ball Construction to the Smithville Fort location at 4 p.m. to discuss all things skate park. All are welcome. On Thursday, June 29th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we ask all residents to join us for a special ribbon-cutting ceremony for our newly constructed West Street Community Parking Lot. The West Street Community Parking Lot sits to the west of the Smithville United Church at 116 West Street. After the ribbon cutting, there will be coffee, tea, and snacks to commemorate this downtown parking addition, and in case of inclement weather, the event will move indoors. And last but not least, it is our West Lincoln Council pleasure to invite all residents to join us in celebrating Canada's 150th anniversary of Confederation at our Canada 150 block party and evening concert. With generous funding from the Niagara Region's Investment in Culture Program, the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care's Healthy Kids Community Challenge, and the Township of West Lincoln, we will be celebrating over the course of the day at 2 West Lincoln locations on Saturday, July 1st. Canada 150 is an opportunity to discover and celebrate our talented local artists and performers, as well as our shared community heritage and our national pride. The Canada Day Block Party will take place from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. in downtown Smithville. Visitors will have the opportunity to experience a variety of exciting activities. The Block Party will feature an artisan marketplace, musical performance, a wrestling show, food vendors, and a kids zone full of fun activities for the community's youth. After the Block Party, the celebration will continue with an evening concert and fireworks show from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at the Smithville Arena. This is an important anniversary that should be commemorated with a special event that brings the community together to celebrate where we live, where we work, and where we play. It is our West Lincoln Council's hope that the residents of West Lincoln will be able to attend the Township of West Lincoln's Canada 150 celebration on Saturday, July 1st, 2017. God bless Canada, and those are our mayor's remarks for the month of June. Thank you. Now we'll move on to report of committee. First A, 10A, Planning, Building, Environmental Committee. These are June 12, 2017 minutes, confidential minutes under separate cover. Note 1, attached is a memo regarding items P8417, which is a new comprehensive zoning bylaw, advising that minor amendments will be required to address changes to the zoning of the property occupied by the Greek Community Hall and 4955 Region Road 20, formerly Tina's Kitchen, and the calculation of the amenity area. Note 2 is attached as a memo regarding item P8317, and that is the secondary plan for the secondary plan for the Northwest Quadrant, advising that minor amendments will be required to permit townhouses within the low-density residential designation. Councillor Chichuk, you have that resolution, please.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the minutes of the open session portion of the June 12th Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted and the recommendations contained therein be approved, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed section portion of the June 12th, 2017 Planning, Building, and Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Who was the exceptions? Okay. So, councillors, you've heard the resolution put forward by Councillor Chichuk and seconded by Councillor Trombetta. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor Bylsma?
Yeah, just with regards to those notes, are they automatically, with the approval of this, they're automatically de facto changed, or are they going to come up further?
As soon as we pass this, the Madam Clerk is going to read out the exceptions, and then and then those will be presented to Council.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor
No
Chichuk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that night, we did hear from a number of people about this particular the secondary plan. I just wanted to remind it, and it's on record, and certainly we went through a very extensive history of how we've been working with this plan and how it was done to balance both the needs of this community, and I apologize, my notes got lost because my Surface decided to have an update. But off the top, our issues here are to create a balanced community and to balance the needs of the community with that of the landowners that are in that secondary plan. And certainly over the past 2 years, Mr. Treble and his staff have done a wonderful job, and the consultants we've hired have done a wonderful job at trying to hear and eke out some of the solutions. I believe that if there are existing issues, and I'm speaking, I think, for probably most of this council, is that that would come by the developers, the landowners, working together to find solutions together. Because this community and this council cannot plan for who owns what, but they can plan for what it is that the larger picture will look like. And as we go through the steps to do secondary plans, site plans, and subdivisions, each of those landowners will have opportunities to work with us. But now is the time for that development group, those landowners, anyone who owns land, to start and continue to work together to come up with a plan that will meet their needs, protect their needs, but also give us something that the community will be proud of in years to come.
Thank
So,
you, Councillor. Well said.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bell?
Just want to address the Northwest Quadrant. That night, IBI Group was mentioned by myself, and I would like to thank the IBI Group, John Arians and his staff, for coming forward in the past week and working with our staff to bring together a plan that's acceptable to the township, the community, and I look forward to moving forward with that group and the developers. I'd like to thank them for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no more comments or questions, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried.
I guess it's a secret.
Okay, we'll now talk about the exceptions. The first one is P8317. That is the secondary plan amendment. And Councillor Trombetta, you have that, please.
Hold on a second. 8317,
Yes, sir.
moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Bosma that that item P8317 from the June 12, 2007 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be approved. One, that report PD 06517 regarding adoption of the final secondary plan for the Northwest Quadrant, file number 1701-004-14, official plan amendment number 45 dated June 12, 2017 be received, and that the official plan amendment number 45 and is hereby adopted by a bylaw by the Township Council, followed by the provision of notice of adoption in accordance with the Planning Act, and that the official plan amendment number 45, consisting of the following text and map schedules, constitute the amendment of the Township of West Lincoln official plan as amended, and that implementation of the Northwest Quadrant secondary plan lands shall be by application for plan of subdivision, condominium, or site plan as appropriated.
Thank you. Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Trombetta and seconded by Councillor Balsma. Madam Clerk?
Through you to members of council, there is an amendment proposed to make the change that was discussed and negotiated among the developers, and it reads as follows: that item P8317 of the June 12, 2017 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee minutes be amended by adding a section E to the list of permitted uses within section 5.2.2 of the draft official plan amendment number 45 that will permit townhouses within the low density designation, and E would read as follows: townhouses and other forms of multiple unit ground related housing. So we would need a mover and a seconder for that.
Councillor Chichak? Councillor Bell? Seconded.
Any questions?
Any comments or questions? Councillor Balsma?
So, just a quick one. Typically, in the low density, what type of houses are permitted, and then why was that need to put the townhouses in there? Like, what is low density by definition?
Mr. Trouble, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, by definition, low density really relates to the number of units that are permitted per hectare or acre, whichever unit measures you want to use. In this particular case, the density of units per hectare has not changed. It remains at a maximum of 30. Normally in low density in West Lincoln, you would anticipate that singles and semis would be your typical kind of low density. That answer would be totally different if I was responding in a larger municipality. In this particular case, with that one minor change of adding towns, it resolved the concerns of a couple of the property owners in the Northwest Quadrant. They have to maintain the density of a maximum of 30, but they can use the townhouse unit concept if that works based on this proposed change.
So, in essence, they could be bigger towns than what is typical, maybe, or there would be more green space allowed. Those are the kinds of things they would do to maintain that 30 threshold and be using towns.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, there would either be a larger lot fabric or a larger unit fabric, one or the other.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
with that. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more comments or questions, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the amendment? And that's carried. Now, the original motion as amended, any comments or questions about that? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Madam Clerk?
Through you to Mr. Treble, I believe this is the one that has the map.
Shut it off, actually.
Sorry. Through you to Mr. Treble, I believe this is the point that you were going to advise that there was an erroneous map included in the bylaw relating to this item.
Thank
It needs to be
you.
withdrawn. It's just administrative, but we need to note the page for you.
If I could direct your attention to page 188, which is in the documents that are the bylaws. Official Plan Amendment number 45 is approved by bylaw. Page 188 should not be there. 189 is meant to be the correct map. There's two maps in here for some reason, and 88 is the wrong one. Thank you,
Okay.
Madam CIO.
Okay, Madam Clerk, 8417, Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw Amendment. Councillor Ghanaian, take a big drink of water.
And it's a very long one, I heard you say that. It is. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bilsma, that item P84-17, 1 and 2 from the June 12, 2017 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be approved. Item P84-17, 1 and 2, recommendation number 1, that report PD-071-17 regarding new comprehensive zoning bylaw corresponding implementing official plan amendment 47 and resolution relating to future zoning amendments dated June 12, 2017 be received, and 2, that official plan amendment number 47 be and is hereby adopted, and that a corresponding bylaw be presented to council for adoption as found at attachment 1 to this report, and 3, that the 20-day appeal period, commence following Township Council adoption, and 4, that 34-17 apply, and that no further public meetings are required for the comprehensive new zoning bylaw, and 5, that the new comprehensive zoning bylaw, as found at attachment number 2 to this report, be adopted, and the corresponding bylaw be adopted, and 6, that the bylaw as found at attachment number 3 to this report be adopted by Township Council to address future zoning amendments that Township Council may be willing to consider as it relates to the new comprehensive zoning bylaw. Recommendation number 2, that item P84-17 of the June 12, 2017 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting, more specifically the new comprehensive zoning bylaw attached as part of report PD-071-17 be amended as follows. 1, remove page 112 and replace it with a new page 112 to add exemption 137 to the list of site-specific zones, and remove map S1 and replace it with a new revised map S1 to address a rear yard setback deficiency of 1 meter for the car wash property at 6633 Regional Road 20 due to a road widening requirement imposed by the Niagara region. And 2, remove page 29 and replace it with a new page 29 to address a minor spelling error. More specifically, change 50 meters squared to 100 meters squared under the column titled Type 2, 10.1 to 100 meters squared for the regulation road titled Maximum Ground Floor Area per Building or Structure.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Ghanaian and seconded by Councillor Bilsma. Now, Madam Clerk, you have the exception.
Through you and members of council, this amendment is about as long as the motion was, but I will read it to you. That item PA417, recommendation number 1, as amended by recommendation number 2, from the June 12th, 2017 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee minutes, be further amended with the following 3 additional minor changes to the draft comprehensive zoning bylaw. 1A, that exception 138 attached to the draft comprehensive zoning bylaw be replaced with the following new exception 138. It is a chart. Part 1 of the chart speaks to site-specific provisions, section 138, map number S1, parent zone 1, And the permitted uses would be limited to commercial, school, daycare, place of worship, private club, private or public park, private or public school, recreation facility, including charitable and philanthropic uses, and accessory buildings or structures and accessory. Regulation column reads, as per the parent zone, except permitted principal uses shall be located within an existing building or additions thereto, provided that the total gross floor area added to the existing building shall not exceed a maximum of 25% of the existing gross floor area. B, that map S1 attached to the draft comprehensive zoning bylaw be replaced with a new map S1 found as part of attachment 1 to Director of Planning's memo dated June 26, 2017. 2, that maps D8 and E7 attached to the draft comprehensive zoning bylaw be replaced with new maps D8 and E7 found as attachment number 2 to the Director of Planning's memo dated June 26, 2017, which amends the zoning for property municipally known as 4955 Regional Road 20, former Tina's Country Kitchen property, from agricultural A to agricultural-related commercial AR zone. And 3, this is the last one, that the definition of amenity area on page 8 and table 15, regulation for permitted uses in medium and high-density residential zones, and note pages 69 and 70 of the draft zoning bylaw be amended as outlined in attachment 3 to the Director of Planning's memo dated June 26, 2017, to address potential residential redevelopment in the downtown core of Smithville. And that's the amendment. Then we would need a mover and a seconder.
I need a mover for that. Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Gannan. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote to the amendment. And that's all in favor? And the original motion as amended, comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. We'll move on to the Administration Finance Fire Committee, June 19, 2017 minutes. Confidential minutes are under separate cover. Councillor Terry Bell, you have that resolution.
I do. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Credan that the minutes of the open session portion of the Administration Finance Fire Committee meeting held on June 19, 2017 be accepted, and that the recommendations contained therefore be approved with the exception of items blank, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the June 19, 2017 Administration Fire Finance Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exceptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection and Privacy Act.
Thank you, Councillor. Madam Clerk, you have an amendment to that?
Through you, yes, to members of council. Unfortunately, I neglected to include in the minutes that Councillor Rayner left immediately, immediately prior to rising from closed session, so I need to make that adjustment to those minutes, and I would need a mover and a seconder for that. Also, he was not in attendance at Public Works, so we'll have to amend those also.
So moving Councillor Trombetta, second by Councillor Chichuk. All those in favor? Is carried. Now, the original motion as amended, moved by Councillor Bell and second by Councillor Gannan. Is there any comments or questions pertaining to that? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. We'll move on to Public Works Recreation Arena Committee, June 19, 2017 minutes. Councillor Trombetta, you have that resolution.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rayner that the minutes of the Public Works Recreation Arena Committee meeting held on June 19, 2017 be accepted, and that the recommendation contained therein be approved with the exception of items.
Madam Clerk, amendment, please.
Through you again to members of council, we would need to amend these minutes to remove the notation that Councillor Rayner was in attendance, as he was not, so we'd need a mover and a seconder, please.
Councillor Chichuk, Councillor Balsma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Now, the original motion as amended. Jason Trombetta moved. Councilor Rayner seconded. All those in favor? It's carried. Want me to sign those, Madam Clerk, now or later?
That's fine, we'll fix them.
Fix them up? Okay. Members of council, the definition for reconsideration is there, and also the notice of motion to rescind is there. We'll move on to Clerk Carolyn Langley, notice of motion to rescind. Excuse me, this is in regards to the judicial review of District School Board of Niagara accommodation review relating to the closure of South Lincoln High School at the July 24, 2017 council meeting. This is for information. Madam Clerk, do you have anything you want to say to that?
Through you to members of council, this notice of motion is required to be on the agenda in order for us to bring forward the motion at the next council meeting to rescind the actions that were taken with respect to the judicial review, since we're not proceeding with it.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to other business, amendment to budget. Director of Public Works and Engineering, Brent Julian. Recommendation report RFD PW 23, 2017. This is the road and bridge restoration plan. This is an amendment to budget. Councilor Rayner, you have that resolution, please.
Moved by myself and second by Councillor Trombetta that one, the report RFD PW 23-2017, Road Bridge Restoration Plan Amendment to Budget dated June 26, 2017 be received, and two, that council approve the road restoration works as shown on attachment A of this report at a cost of $5,274,702 to be funded by the Wind Energy Restoration Funding. And three, that council authorize staff to provide $150,000 allocation for staffing assistance to be funded from the Wind Energy Road Restoration Funding. And four, that council approve additional funding be allocated for bridge restoration works to bridge number 29 on South Chippewa Road in the amount of $585,000 for the rehabilitation of the bridge deck and railing system from the Wind Energy Road Restoration Funding.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Rayner and seconded by Councilor Trombetta. Is there any comments or questions? Councilor Trombetta?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have an amendment to that.
Okay.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Rayner that the recommendation contained in report RFD 23-2017 Road Bridge Restoration Plan amended to the budget be amended by deleting recommendation 4 and replacing it with the following revised recommendation. Number 4, that North Chippewa Bridge number 34 be replaced at an estimate cost of $1.2 million. Adding new recommendations 5, 6, and 7, and 8 as follows. That staff be hereby directed to undertake the following projects. Concession 2 Road from Caster-Gainsborough Town Line Road to Church Road at an estimate cost of $371,000. 20 Road from Abingdon to Westbrook Road at an estimate of $365,000. 20 Road from Abingdon to South Grimsby Road 18 at an estimate cost of $170,000. And that in order to complete the projects listed newly sections 4 and 5, that an estimate amount of $1.5 million be reallocated from portions of the proposed Port Davidson Road and Caster-Gainsborough Town Line Road as determined by staff, and that staff be hereby authorized to proceed immediately to tender without reporting back to council, and that staff be hereby directed to obtain a cost surface treatment on Concession 2 Road from Caster Center Road to Abingdon Road and report back.
So that's moved by Councilor Trombetta and seconded by Councilor Rayner. Councilor Trombetta, is there anything else you want to say about that, or explanation? Or?
No, I'm quite sure there'll be some other comments, but I'll add afterwards, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions about that? Councilor Balsma?
Yeah, I really don't even know how to start. I think it's. Let me start by saying, first off, this is a lot to dump on our plate here at a council meeting. I think that ultimately this should be kicked back to a public works where we can have a time to digest it. First of all, the amendment's just before us, so it wasn't part of our package. But even still, like since Friday afternoon, we've had this. I think we're about to spend $5 million on a bunch of roads, and a suggestion was made. I've got a lot of issues with that suggestion. that was put forward. I have even more issues with the amendment. Just hearing it, like just knee jerk off the top of my head, the hair on the back of my neck is getting raised, and because I think this is not again, I'm spitballing here because it's just before us. I think we need a fulsome discussion at a planning, at a Public Works, where we can have a good dialogue, digest this. Part of my concern rises from the fact that, obviously a big chunk of money has come into our hands as a result of the repairs that needed to be made to roads in the affected areas by the NRW and WRF project. The amendment proposed and seconded by Councilors Rayner and Trombetta remove approximately $1.5 million out of that project and put it towards roads that are not even in Ward 2 where the project that affected the roads was. As far as I know, not a single wind turbine piece went down any of these roads. I know that there was a note, when I read my package, there was a note about the fact that there was some damage done to the roads by the HAF project, and that may very well be true, and I'm not going to argue that. But the reality is, and again, I understand that, West Lincoln as a unit, as a whole, if we fix up these roads, that will mean that there's, potentially more money in the future for roads that, as they come due. But the reality is, I don't see, say, Elko Road, which was clearly pulverized and returned from a state of pavement.
It's on there.
I couldn't find it. I looked for Elko Road. I don't know. Is it that section? Okay, so that on that note, I stand corrected. I tried as I might. I couldn't find it. So maybe I was just looking in the wrong spot. But to me, I think there's some I don't think we're ready to proceed. So all I'm asking is that this the council kick this back to a Public Works meeting where we can have maybe more explanation, or especially with this amendment for sure, because that's just before us. So those are off the top some of my first opening comments with respect to this.
So, Council, I'll just say this, that since you spoke to it, you can't refer it or defer it, okay? So you'll have
Since
to...
I spoke to it, I can't refer to defer?
You can't refer it or defer it because you spoke to it.
You
Why-
can refer it.
You can? Okay.
That would
Must
be
be, must be some different rules, because at the region, when you speak to it, we can't refer it or defer it at that time. But
No,
Madam
I'm
Clerk
gonna
says
go
you
with the
can.
clerk, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So at this point, those are some opening comments. At some point, if someone else doesn't do it, I'm going to make a motion to refer this to Public Works.
Okay.
So just let that know.
Councilor Chichak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I did see Elko Road is on for an asphalt surface and treatment of 3.2 kilometers, and that would be asphalt. And then there's another portion of Elko from Caister Gainsborough to Port Davidson of 2.5 kilometers in the gravel section. I believe that when we met last week, we did give instruction to our staff to come forward, or we were told that our staff would be coming forward with an amendment to budget with regard to roads. But I must say that, in fairness, I feel that this item is before us. I understand that we want to move forward with this, but I'm troubled that it's here, and I support the idea that this have a fulsome discussion at a Public Works meeting, and that there are implications that I would want to have that probably require us to go in camera. And so as not to jeopardize either this council or my own position, I would like the opportunity to do that. We know that there is always going to have to be patience on council and from the public at large as to how we do the roads. We are basing our future roads repairs on studies that were done that they give us an understanding of what should be first. I think the biggest issue here is the sources of support from the various categories within our budget that need to be discussed. And I would hope that all of council would walk away from here fully endorsing any kind of substantial road improvements that we're going to have made, not at a council, but this work really does belong at a committee meeting, even if we were allowing our staff simply to go forward with getting some pricing. But this asks for an amendment to budget. It asks for money to be taken from a fund that was somewhat dealt with last time, will be dealt with tonight, was dealt with partially at Public Works. And for that reason, I will refer this back. I would like to refer this back simply to have the opportunity to have a fulsome discussion, because I didn't realize that this was going to cause perhaps what will be considered further divisiveness as we move forward. And I think we need to go on camera, or we need to go back to a Public Works meeting so that everybody is comfortable with the roads. And I would say that looking at this, I'm not partisan. I'll be very honest with you. There's a lot of roads in here that are Ward 2, but that's not the way I want to do it. I want everybody to be satisfied that the work that's included in this is the work that we should be doing, and that the sources supporting these particular roads are correct, and that we all have time to have a say so that we won't leave here either frustrated or misunderstanding what it is our staff have wanted to do. And I'm trying to say this within the confines of what I think I should be saying in public. So I would like to refer this matter back to Public Works, and if we had to have a special meeting, that wouldn't bother me. If we have to have a special council meeting, that doesn't bother me. This is a substantial amount of work, and the funding should be understood by all. So I put forward the motion to refer it back to a Public Works Committee meeting so that we can have a fulsome discussion, because this really is a committee, this really is committee work, and we perhaps didn't have enough of a chance to have a discussion. This is not where we should be having this discussion.
So Councillor Chichak is referring this motion. I would assume that it is seconded by Councillor Bilsma. There is no comments or questions at this time, is there? Okay. Oh, there can be comments or questions. Councillor Bell?
Through you, Mayor Joyner. So prior to tonight's meeting, we said we'd bring this back to council to have a fulsome discussion. And here we are. We have it before us. Now, am I to understand that this wants to be kicked back to staff, to Public Works, this whole project at this point in time? That's...
As I understand it, Councillor.
It's the staff report is the staff report. It's being referred back so that we can have more discussion about it.
I just wanted clarification. to make
Okay.
sure. Thank you.
Councillor Trombetta?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hearing some comments from the colleagues around the table, yes, we did come across some sum of money, and the money that is proposed in that amendment is a small amount. Roads were used through Ward 1 to get through Ward 2 for excuse me, sorry, may I continue? Oh, sorry. Roads were used through Ward 1 to go through Ward 2. The equipment that passed through, the trucks that passed weren't helicoptered in. Roads were damaged in Ward 1. We're all a West Lincoln here. We're not just one ward. So the amendment coming forward was to compensate some of the residents, or all of the residents that have been affected by these turbine projects, past and present. So yes, I made an amendment. Yes, I think there are multiple roads out there that have been damaged by these turbines. Heavy equipment, I've seen them going down my road. I live in there. I'm quite sure Councillor Rayner's seen them going down. I'm quite sure many of our residents seen them going down our roads. And I don't think that this small amount that I proposed is over the top. I find it obnoxious that there's a stigma that's saying that all this money that we came across deserves to be in Ward 2. Are we forgetting that we're all West Lincoln here? I don't understand. My residents have been affected from this project. Our roads have been affected, and they've been ruined from this project and the past project. And before, council never got anything. So I just find that I put this amendment forward, and this is the reasons why. Because, again, the residents of Ward 1 have been left in the dark. And this sum of money is not all Ward 2. It's West Lincoln's. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. What's your point of order, Councilor?
My point of order is that nowhere, it's been stated, nowhere did I say that I was looking for this money for Ward 2, and I just want that very clear. I
wasn't talking about you,
mine
Councilor.
Mine is about principle. It is about the fact that we were going to have discussion. I think I made it very clear that I felt that this was something that needed discussion and a thorough understanding, because what I'm hearing right now is two sides of a concern. It's not about the money. In fact, I made it very clear that the money that we have to put forward is for all the roads in West Lincoln. And the prioritization of roads are done by a scientific testing of our roads. It was about the fact that, having seen what was going on in the amendment that came out tonight, I didn't want this to be an us and them, they and us, whatever. And I'm not they or us. I'm a member of this council making a decision, as I believe all my colleagues are, and I really hope that we don't go down to a concern about suggesting that what one person has to say in a democratically formed council should be chastised or castigated by the fact that we have different opinions. So I just want it made clear. I am not talking about where and who it belongs. I was talking about the fact that this report and the amendments which are made here tonight were not part of the report that we had since Friday.
The amendment.
The amendment, I apologize, is something that I feel is substantial enough for us to treat each other in a way that is professional. And if you don't feel that way, you put your hand up at the right time. But for me, this is a big decision where we want to make sure that we all understand, and we're all going to leave with a full understanding of what goes there. And I'm very careful tonight because we are dealing with something that the fulsomeness of which we cannot discuss in public right now. So I'm being careful. And that's the other reason why I think we could have it a proper discussion where we would all come away, not further dividing this council. That's my point.
That's your point of order. Thank you.
That was my point of order.
Councilor Rayner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Councilor Trombetta said, there are some road damages in Ward 1. I personally own a fair bit of property at Caister Center that joins onto both Concession 3 and Concession 2. I was approached by the people who do the wind project. They wanted to rent or buy a corner of the property in order to facilitate the turning of the big trucks. And I basically told them no, just like I told them about I didn't want turbines on my land. But down the road they did, and they destroyed some 150-year-old oak trees in order to make the corner navigable. And during the summer last year, I seen these great big trucks with these great big props on them going down Caister Center Road heading north, which means they went along South Chippewa Road, which is also very, very beat up right now, especially on the shoulders. So there are a number of roads that were also affected by Ward 1 in order to get the turbines east, 3 of which I believe are still in Ward 1. So there is definitely some damage out there. Plus what was done with the 5 turbines prior to, that was still another issue too. So I understand and I appreciate where Councillor Trombetta is coming from. There are a lot of roads that have been damaged, and as Councillor Chichuk said, we've got to look at it from the whole township, but this particular situation is just recognizing the fact that Ward 1 is also part of the damage, and Councillor Trombetta felt that this was a time in order to get it acknowledged. The only thing I'm concerned about is bringing it back to Public Works, as this is June, we're going into summer. By the time we drag this all out, we might even be too late to do anything about the roads this year. So the sooner they get on them, because we still got to go to tender, we still got to get them done. This is June. Time's running out. If this was March, I would feel much more comfortable. But this is the end of June, and the process takes time, and if we don't move ahead very quickly, I think we can kiss 2017 goodbye. I appreciate where Councillor Trombetta is coming from, and hopefully we'll see where this turns out. Thank you.
I have Councillor Trombetta for a second time? No? Okay. All right. So we will call the vote on the referral. It's moved by Councillor Chichuk and seconded by Councillor Baalsma. I would call for the vote. All those in favor, and please put your hands up high so I can see. Recorded vote has been called by Councillor Chichuk. Madam Clerk. Do you want the paper? No. You have to put your mic on. Yes, asked for by Councillor Chichuk for a recorded vote.
On the referral motion, Councillor Bell.
Opposed.
Councillor Bylsma.
In favor.
Councillor Chichuk.
In favor.
This is an old one, sorry. No, just a second, I'll get it. Councillor Ganan. Councillor Rayner.
Opposed.
Councillor Trombetta.
Opposed.
Mayor Joyner.
Opposed.
That is lost.
Okay, so we will go back to questions and comments about the amendment. Councillor Chichuk?
At the appropriate time, Mr. Mayor, I would like to put forward a motion that would suggest that this be put forward, and that the only change, the amendment that I would make to the motion would be that we look for the funding in our reserves, so that we would match this to all that we have, all of the work be done from reserves, and that the only reference I would like to have removed is the reference to the monies that were coming from a settlement which has an amount in it, which I am not going to refer to in the amount because we were asked not to, and I would ask that that reserve, or pardon me, that those funds, that this amendment that Councillor Trombetta makes, so watch where I'm going, is that the amendment can go through, but the source of funding be changed from that of the settlement clause, settlement that is being done tonight, but that all the money come from a town reserve. And further to that, a second portion of that is that any monies coming from the settlement of any types of negotiations regarding the projects for wind go back to staff and not be spent until an entire program be decided. That doesn't mean that we can't come forward and use it for any funding for anything we want to do, but that we sit down and go through with our Public Works Director and any of the other staff, the appropriate staff, but we understand that the work is going to be done. Because I think the thing that is troubling myself and others on this council tonight is that there is reference to that, we were asked not to make reference to it tonight, an amount and what's going on. So I'm having real trouble trying to talk about this. But my point is that any kind of settlement that we are going to have come forward to a future Public Works Committee meeting, and that we then look at what kind of work we would like to use any funding from that settlement for. So tonight's motion about the work that has to be done was all to be funded from town budgeted monies. Am I correct, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Public Works Director? Other than a small amount in the amendment.
Can you restate that? Because I didn't understand that question either, Councillor
Well, my
Chichuk.
question is, there was an amendment that suggested an amount that would be coming from a settlement fund that was going to be coming to the town. Am I correct, Mr. Mayor? Through you.
Let me just see if I can. Okay, so 2 says the cost of 5274702 to be funded from wind energy road restoration. Council authorized staff to provide for allocation of staffing. And that 4, that the council approve additional funding be allocated for bridge restoration works, Bridge 29, in the amount of $585,000 for the rehabilitation of the bridge deck and railing system for the wind energy road restoration funding. So as it stands right now, none of the recommendations of 4 are anything other than the money that's coming from the wind energy road restoration funding.
So, Mr. Mayor, through you to the Director of Public Works, is all the funding for the projects included in this motion coming from the wind settlement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Chichuk. For clarification, the report recommendations as are outlined in attachment A, all those roads are from our road operation manager saying that these were the roads impacted by the wind energy project. That is what the Public Works recommendations are based on. The amendments are outside of the report.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendations to fund, the recommendations for all the roads that have been identified were to be funded from where?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Chichuk. The roads that were in attachment A and the totals in the recommendation were based on what Public Works perceived were the damages that were received by the wind energy project. The addition of Bridge 29, the justification to that was that South Chippewa Road we know was impacted. We were receiving the calls and that bridge should be part of this. Not sure if I answered your question.
No, Madam Clerk.
Through you to members of council, the funding used to repair these roads is coming from the settlement.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're in this, and the item is there, and the amount is in the report, and the other $1.2 million is in the air to be added to this. So I feel comfortable in discussing the fact that, through you, Mr. Mayor, the roads that are on the Appendix A that are all listed here are the roads that were impacted, and that those costs total $5.2 million. Through you, Mr. Chair, to our Public Works Director, Mr. Mayor, is that correct? An estimate of 5.2 still to be tendered. Am I correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Chichuk, the estimated 5.2 is for the roads in Schedule A.
So, further to that, the amendment to this motion is suggesting about $1.2, $1.3 million. I'm rounding. I apologize. And that is for the bridge and the deck and various other attributes regarding South Chippewa Road, which I'm not going to argue was affected because we got engineers that tell us that. And that amendment is being suggested and put forward, and it too would come from the roadwork restoration settlement.
Madam Clerk.
Through you, members of council, the amendment that's been put forward has to be offset. So the amount that results from the amendment put forward by Councillor Trombetta.
We're not there yet, Madam Clerk.
Offset by number 6.
We're not there yet. She's asking a question that the amendment put forward to do South Chippewa Road, is that included in the roadworks rehabilitation money? And the answer is yes.
The South Chippewa is included.
Yes.
But not the
Sorry if
bridge.
I'm misunderstood.
But not the bridge.
That's
So,
what,
I guess
South
my
Chippewa
question-
is the bridge.
My question then is that the entirety of that additional $1.3 million, is it included? Will it fit within the settlement funds?
Are you talking about Councilor Trombetta's amendment?
Yeah.
No, it will not.
Well, I was asking him.
Well, I know the answer, so I'm
But I'd
giving you.
like to ask him.
Okay,
Because
go
my
ahead.
next question is to him as well.
So is the $1.2 million amendment that Councilor Trombetta has put forward, is it included in the, what we refer to as the money, the settlement money?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Chichuk, as per the recommendations on the front of the report, the 5.274 and change, the 585,000 for the bridge, plus the additional funding for the staffing assistance, that is the money for the funding. That and that alone.
That and that only. So that, because now I'm going to number 6. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the director, where is it that the balance of the funding will come from? We're short for the recommendation, the amendment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Chichuk, the amendment is not part of this report.
I understand. So this amendment is on the floor, and I'm looking to you. The treasurer doesn't happen to be here. I'm looking at, I understand, 5.274 plus 585 plus the supervisory work to do that road will make it. But there's another part of that amendment that won't.
So-
Mr. Councilor Trombetta's amendment that will not be funded, and we are going to have to do something. My question is, are we moving some of the roads that have been affected out to make it fit? Or are, and I'm sorry, I would have done this in camera, I would have gone somewhere else, but I just
That's
need
fine.
to ask this. So are we looking, is this going to now be some trading off, or are we looking to use a reserve? I'm under the impression we have too much money to be spent, want of spending tonight, and we have to figure out what we want to spend.
So you're right with the assumptions, although this is not the staff recommendation. So
I
I'm going to
understand.
ask, okay, I know you understand. So I'm just going to say that either the acting CAO and clerk, Ms. Langley, can explain, or Councillor Trombetta, the author of the amendment, can explain.
Actually, I don't want that. I'm looking to Mr. Julian to the impact. So I don't mind that the clerk talks to us, but at this moment in time, I need to know the impact. Because you know what? The solution is really easy. I'm expecting that we get into a cat fight if we said, well, we're going to put in those roads, but we're taking out that road. Forget which one. And if we say that, somebody's going to get their knickers into a twist no matter what we do. So the solution tonight is pretty obvious. If all these roads, plus the ones that are being recommended in the amendment, need to be fit, and we don't have sufficient funds to do it, I want to know from Mr. Julian where we might go to get it if you want this to pass tonight. Because that's why I wanted to go back to Public Works. Because you know what? We got a size 11 foot in a size 6 shoe.
Gotcha. Ms. Langley.
Through you, the offset is under section 6 of the amendment, and
I
it
don't
reads
have.
as follows. In order to complete the projects listed in the newly added sections 4 and 5, which is the North Chippewa Bridge and the list of roads concession 2, 20 road and 20 road sections. So in order to complete those roads, that an estimated amount of 1.521000 be reallocated from portions of the proposed works on Port Davidson Road and Caister-Gainsborough Town Line Road as determined by staff. So there is an offset required. The offset they're recommending is those 2 roads, and we have to determine which portions that we reduce it by to reach that 1.521.
So, Mr. Mayor, now we have a conundrum, because it's, do we throw the baby out with the bathwater, or in Herod's case, are we going to cut the egg in half, and which part of the baby gets to go home alive? So that's, for me, a difficult discussion to be having at a council meeting, which is why I wanted to refer it back. But I apologize if I was a little ahead of my friends, because I hadn't seen the amendment till I heard it tonight, and I learn by reading. So we have a conundrum here. We can't make it work with the funding that's being suggested. So something's going out and something's coming back in.
That's how I understand it.
That's what I understand as well. And for that reason, I wanted it referred back, out of fairness to all of us. But I want to understand, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Julian, and I'm sorry for putting him on the spot, how, treasurer's not here, we do have reserves and we do have different things that need to be done. If this work all wanted to be done, all of it, and nothing came out, pardon me, what would we have to do and where would we go? Because we do have funds in reserves. And would it mean that we would be taking our road rehabilitation plan and putting some things out and leaving everything that was affected in? Because if what I'm hearing is everything that's in this list, plus those two roads were affected by wind turbines, not necessarily all NRWF, I'm trying to be kind here, but that they all should be fixed with a fund that we have, then we need to know how we get all this work. 1.521 plus 5.274 money. I need all those roads. That's 5.274, Mr. Julian, in the report that you've said are affected or your staff have, and 1.521 recommended by Councillor Trombetta in an amendment. I need to know how and what you would suggest we would do to get all that work done. And not jeopardize, not take anything out.
And one more, Councillor Chichuk, is also that the South Chippewa Road at the cost of $585,000
But
too
that
as
one
well.
fit. That one was fitting,
585 is on top of the 5.2
but that one would fit.
within the allocated funding envelope, yes.
So the 585 plus the supervision of that 585, I'm understanding from Mr. Julian, was going to fit, okay? So it's only 585 plus supervision, mine off of 1.5, and I'm just trying to get to a bottom line here. So 585 plus supervision would give us somewhere around $900,000 that we have to find to make everything that's in the amendment and in the original list done. And all I want to know, Mr. Mayor, and then I might be able to be calm and sleep tonight, is what we would have to do to get there. Because I don't want to be doing half of anybody's and all the rest. I want to just know what it would take to do this.
So, Mr. Julian, what is the funding mechanism to do everything that's been supported by all the motion and the amendments? What is, you're not a director of finance, but what could be one funding mechanism?
I'm going to try to answer it because through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Chichuk and members of council. You are correct. I'm not the finance director. I would guess that the remaining amount would have to come from reserves
So, Mr. Mayor.
or debenture.
So, Mr. Mayor, if we're going to have this amendment, we either are going to put a motion on the table to say that all the works, nothing comes out, because we made a commitment to one another and to this community that the roads affected by the turbines were going to be fixed. Without going into how this was going to be funded, and I know that there's work and forget where in this town, I don't want to talk about us and them, but if there are roads that need to be done, we have a settlement that says fix the roads that were affected, and that's how we came up with the justification. So I don't want to have a fight here, and we may have an argument. I want to go in camera if I have to, and you tell me when I have to stop. But if the point here is that we aren't fixing roads in this township fast enough, and it is from previous wind problems, then we need a motion on the table, and I'm happy to put it forward to say that this list be augmented by the work that was for the damage to roads. If our staff can support and say that the roads that are being put forward by Councillor Trombetta and Councillor Rayner, that we add those two roads and that a funding solution be brought back to us by staff at the next committee and council meeting in July, so that this is not a debacle about who gets to get fixed. That if
Okay.
that's what we have to do, and that's the motion I'll put forward, that we amend the motion, the amendment on the floor that says nothing taken out, but that a funding source for the work that wants to be done, if truly justified as damage done by a wind project in West Lincoln, that a funding source be brought back to finance it and to be approved by council at the July meeting.
Okay. So at the appropriate time, do you want to speak, Councillor Bosma, or do you want to second that?
Well, I did want to speak, yes.
Okay, but I do have Councillor Trombetta before you. So do you want to second that amendment of Councillor Chichuk's?
You want to second it?
Again, that was kind of a referral, was it not?
No, she's making an amendment. The referral was shot down. It was defeated. So there was an amendment. Did you hear her amendment?
No, I was trying to concentrate on what I wanted to say next.
Mr. Mayor, the amendment is that we have a gap.
Yes.
We have some funding that tonight we could use for additional road repairs that at the moment is unspent with the 5.274 that is being recommended. You just stop me. And I'm saying that if our staff can confirm that the roads being recommended by the motion, amendment to the motion on the floor tonight by Councillor Trombetta, that those, if it's justifiable that they were damaged because we didn't get any money from the previous wind project, that we use the money remaining, we fix the road, and that the balance, we have staff come back with a funding source so that we complete the work that is in the 5.274 and the work that Councillor Trombetta has brought forward as South Chippewa Road and the bridge repair that has to be done. And my understanding is it's 1.521. Was I incorrect at the amendment on the Chippewa stuff?
I'm not sure where the 1.521 has come from.
I don't know, somebody told me that.
A point of clarification, we're spending a lot of time talking about this amendment, and none of us actually have it in front of us. Like, this is concerning to me because of the numbers, and I don't even have, see, at the very beginning, we talked about referral, and this is all part of my point of clarification. I'm not saying, I'm not going to pass any judgment on the actual roads themselves, but an amendment of this quality, again, just getting into logistics and procedure, amendment of this quality and nature and of size, like we're just making, we're talking millions of dollars and we're going to do this willy-nilly on the fly. None of us have it in front of us, so we're referring to, we're constantly asking the clerk to repeat it. We don't even have a detailed amount. Councillor Chichok is raising the issue about she doesn't know if it's 1.51, she's doing all this kind of thing. At the end of the day, our staff came forward with a recommendation based on science. They did the study, they talked to the girl who audited all the roads, and they came forward with a recommendation, fully costed, within the allowances that they were given. Then we have this amendment, which none of us have before us, which is why, you know, as I said in the beginning, we're just spitballing here. We're kind of doing all these things. So point of order, at least let's get the amendment in front of us. Secondly, why couldn't we refer this? Really, we should have referred this. It's unfortunate, but the science behind the amendment doesn't exist. We don't have any justification.
You mean to science to the amendment is what you're talking about?
Science to the amendment, it doesn't exist. We have no, the staff did science. They came up with this list. I'm not saying that maybe there's not science to back it up, but the staff couldn't come up with it. They came up with this. And so we're dealing with something we don't have. It is technically properly before us, but this is why I think it should have come back.
And that's the point that you have to remember, that technically it is right to be before us. This happens all the time at region, at every different council. I may not like it.
Yeah.
You may not like it. Some of people on council may not like it, but this is not out of sorts or out of practice.
Maybe we should break. I would like to see the amendment photocopied with the cost detail that
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, that's where it's going to go too.
And then because like we're ixnaying something, a couple items that the staff came forward with their science, with their audit. They came forward, we're ixnaying that, and we have no justification for adding in the ones that we are. I'm not. Regardless, maybe we get to that point. But at this point, I think we're very premature to just go take the staff's report and just, you know, do our own little red letter version of it, and keep that. I mean, we have every right to do it, but then let's roll up our sleeves, sit down here for the next couple hours, and see that science. That's what I want to know.
Okay. Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, with this amendment that I brought forward, it's not forgetting the residents that have been affected in the Ward 1, and I'd like to call the question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You need a second?
And I'm looking for a seconder so I can call the question on the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder to call the question. Councillor Rayner to call the question.
Just wait, let it go. Can't debate it, call the question.
Point of order, if this question is on the amendment put forward by them, if they call the question, there's no discussion, then I'm going to be compelled to rule this out of order and challenge the chair.
I don't think that you can do that because I haven't made a ruling on anything other than on call the question. And if a counselor asks me to call the question and is duly seconded, I have to call the question. My hands are tied. So the chair is not out of order. Just I'm following procedure. So I'm going to hand out the amendments 3 to my right.
I think.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got the original. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yeah, here you go. I have a motion to call the question on the floor, moved by Councilor Trombetta and second by Councilor Rayner.
Okay, recorded vote, Mr. Mayor.
And a recorded vote has been called by Councilor Trombetta.
Councilor Bell? For the vote, I'll call the question.
In favor.
Councilor Bilesma?
Opposed.
Councilor Chicha? Opposed. Councilor Gann? Opposed. Councilor Rayner? Councilor Trombetta?
I'm going to say opposed right now. I want a little bit more dialogue. Asking for more comments and questions on this. Councilor Bilesma.
Again, so my comments were about the calling of the question, so I'm going to repeat them loosely. I'm going to repeat them. Again, our staff has come forward using science based on their analysis, the sum that was that they were given, handed to work within the parameters that they were given. They came forward with a recommendation. Now we know that every road that was traveled is not on this list. These are the roads as a priority that staff came forward with. Now, it's fair to say that trucks and materials went down roads that are not on this list. And it's also fair to say that there was some damage done to some of these roads. And an auditor took note of that damage. The staff had that full information and then came back with this report. Now, again, as I said stated at the very outset, it's a lot to digest this evening at this time. I understand time constraints. There's nothing constraining us to actually get this work. We would like to get the work done, but there's no actual obligation tied to the money that has to be spent by X number of days or anything like that. So we could do ourselves a service by knocking off a couple of the big ticket items and deferring a good chunk of this to next summer's construction season. That's totally legitimate. There's nothing that says we have to spend the $6 million or $5.2 million or whatever right away. That's the first point I want to make. The second one is that given those two realities that vehicles did use a lot more roads than's on the list, and damage was done to a lot more roads than is on the list, the staff came forward with these roads at this time in most need of repair. Now, to just, I think, almost shoot from the hip, come up with this amendment without, I don't see any staff endorsement on this. I don't see any engineering studies done on this. So how do we know that the roads that they're displacing in order to do this in item 6, the roads that they're displacing, how do we know that we're making the wise decision if we don't have the staff? So I would like to ask.
So, Counselor, I would suggest to you that this is your point in time to ask questions.
Okay.
The staff has suggested that we do Bridge 34, which is the North Chippewa Road.
Yes.
And the counselor has put forward an amendment that you have now in front of you to say that Bridge 34 be replaced, I believe it's Bridge 29. This is your chance to ask the Director of Public Works to say, I don't know, what's the average daily traffic count in each bridge? Which bridge is being monitored and which bridge isn't being monitored? What is the PCI of the asphalt on the bridge?
Okay.
Questions like that,
Well,
so to
see,
understand.
there we go. All right.
Okay.
So thank you for leading me down
Yeah.
this path. So here go my number of questions to the Director of Public Works. Bridge 34, North Chippewa Bridge. What's the load limit on that bridge?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bilesma, and I'll thank the mayor for also referring to me. Sorry.
What did I do? Sorry.
Put him in the hot spot.
Yeah.
Just answer questions, Director. That's all you have to do.
I don't have at this with me the load limit, Councillor Bilesma. I can tell you that it was limited similar to what Bridge 12 was, and then we just recently lowered it again. It's down to 1 lane.
So my question to you, during the time of the construction, what was the, do you know that the load limit at that time of the wind turbine construction? What was the load limit on that bridge?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bilesma. Again, I don't have the exact loads here.
Yeah.
I can provide that, but it was a restricted.
Let me ask
bridge.
why I'm asking. My understanding is Bridge 34 is very similar to Bridge 12. It's on North Chippewa Road. I doubt that any significant trucks have been able to go across that bridge, given it has been reduced. Correct? At some point in the past, 20 years ago, it had a higher load limit. It's been reduced. And knowing that it's reduced, it probably would not have been able to support the cranes or the concrete trucks loaded to go over that bridge. Would I be correct in assuming that?
Mr. Julian?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bilesma, the low limit that's on there would have been very restrictive for wind energy.
So my point is that some of the culverts and stuff that were destroyed by cranes and by the hundreds of concrete trucks that had to go over them were actually, how would you say, rated for those loads, and some of them were destroyed. But this bridge wouldn't even have seen that kind of traffic because it didn't even meet those requirements in the first place. So my question is, why is this bridge on here if it wasn't rated for the type of construction vehicles necessary that were doing damage on various other roads to insert this bridge? And I know that it needs to be done. I get that. But to me, it should be outside this. So that's an example. So that's why I'm opposed to the addition of 4, because to me, there's no warrant to include this bridge as part of the construction. I know it's on our list, but to me, that seems like verification of my first point, which is it seems like we're just throwing a couple of bridges and roads that are rough into this to get a piece of this pie. There's no justification for it. That's with regards to the bridge. Bridge 34 didn't have a crane go over it. I don't have any of the PCIs and the daily traffic counts for any of these roads. So do you have Concession 2 Road from Caister Gainsborough Town Line? Do you have the PCI for that and the average daily count?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bilesma, I'd refer, not sure what page it is in the full package report. If you refer to page 143, which is page 3 of the report. There is a table there below that does have the PCIs of some of those roads. I do have some AADTs of some roads here.
Well, I'm the ones I'm referring to are the ones in item 5 of the amendment.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bilesma, they are on that table on page 3 of the report, or page 143 of the council package. There's a little table there. Okay,
I see concession. I don't see concession 2 roads.
Concession 2's there.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah.
And 20, the 220 roads are also on the bottom.
Okay, yeah. Okay, there they are. Yeah. See, and then the roads that they're displacing, and 55, like the 20 road, says it's actually in fair condition, 66.9. That they're displacing proposed works on Port Davidson Road and Caister Town Line. I don't have, so to me, it's very important that I see why we're displacing that one out of there. Is it in a poor condition? Does it have a PCI of below 66.9? Like 66.9? Like, you know where I'm going. So what's the PCI of the Port Davidson Road?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bilesma, I do have some of that in a spreadsheet here. I'd like to try to explain first the construction of the report. Again, I'll refer back to attachment A. That is the recommendations, or the 4 recommendations at the front. These, as the heading says, other projects for council's consideration. And it has the 5 roads. It has Bridge 34. That is totally at the discretion of council. That's why they're in there. Part of the reason that they're in there, we looked at the capital plans, and as it says in here, they are on the short-term range in the 10-year capital budget. And we considered, Public Works considered the condition of the road, which anything below 60 is poor, and below 50, you're into total reconstruction. And I would tell you, even the 66.9, that was a 2014 number, and we know that the road is denigrated since then. So the Port Davidson ones, without digging in further, the original PCIs were before the wind damage, right? Because the road needs study was done in 2014. At that time, we were placing Port Davidson into the 10-year capital because, knowing the importance of that road and the amount of volume on it, it made sense to put that in there. But it was, at the time, it was in around the 70, which is according to our engineering information, is the prime time for resurface before losing a major road.
Correct. So, again, I come back to this point, Mr. Mayor, through to the director. This Port Davidson section, for example, the one that they want to displace, we've already determined prior to wind that it was important to do, and that was based on science of the road needs study and your determination. You're the expert, and your staff you got engineers on staff. You came forward with this. I want to stress there may be some validity to this, but we're rolling up our sleeves. We want to understand that these roads, the roads that are being displaced are the ones that whenever we go against our staff, we kind of get ourselves into a little bit of hot water. I think we have every right to, but we have to be able to do so with wisdom. I think this is very unwise. Prior to this, Port Davidson Road was on our 10-year capital plan to address. We started that road. It would be foolish to not finish that road and because we've already committed to start it, as we did in other roads in the Caister. I think the Caisterville Road was another one that got started in that same project. So I also I'm trying to collect all my thoughts. Again, this is all just before me tonight. I'll collect my thoughts because I think I'm frustrating my colleagues. If I have an opportunity to speak again later, I'd appreciate that. So at this point, I'm just going to gather my thoughts and pass it over to someone else.
Can I kind of somewhat tell you how I think I see this going here?
Yeah.
So I see that the one road is in, and that is Bridge 29 is in for a price of $585,000.
Yes.
I'm seeing that, instead of doing Bridge 29, that we do Bridge 34, and the difference would be 1.2 million minus 585.
Yep.
Right?
I see.
And okay, and I just wanted to clarify.
No,
and then I see all of the other roads that are in Schedule A, and this is Mr. Julian, where I think you're going to have to help me out. So all the roads are still in there, and then you add 5A, 5B, and 5C. Is that correct for all of those amounts? They're 371 plus 365 plus 170.
But we would be removing on Schedule A the Port Davidson section, which is the Caister Gainsborough, which I see. Where do I see that? Is that the first one? Port Davidson Road from 16 to 63.
So 365.
Caister Gainsborough. So the first two items of asphalt and surface treatment on Caister Gainsborough and Port Davidson Road would be removed. 20 kilometers in schedule. Is that, Mike? Is that how you would understand that, Mayor or Councillor, to Mayor Joyner through to Director?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Julian.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bilesma, if I'm understanding, looking at the amendment, I'm seeing on number 8 that staff be hereby directed, or sorry, is that the, so that staff be, we reallocate, we determine which parts of Port Davidson would come out, as determined by staff, number 6, the very last. Proposed works on Port Davidson and Caister Gainsborough Town Line. So if I'm understanding this correctly, not all of Port Davidson or Caister Gainsborough Town Line come out, portions of it.
Okay.
So it's not a total one for one, I guess, is what I'm understanding.
The mover of the amendment is trying to accommodate. Yeah.
As I understand it.
And
I would
fair
like the
enough.
mover of the amendment to actually explain it, because
So
that would clear up everything in this room, actually, I think.
Yes, Mr.
If-
Mayor.
If we could understand where the council's coming from, and then I would understand.
If you don't mind, again, removing Dockstader Bridge is a savings cost of $580,000.
585, yes.
585. And I know when it says removing portions of the Port Davidson, Caister Gainsborough Town Line, again, that's slated for capital for next year. So there's also, you're forgetting that there's also capital works that are also getting done. Am I correct, Mr. Director? So, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Director.
Mr. Julian.
Mr. Julian, sorry.
Was it scheduled for capital works in the upcoming years, Mr. Julian?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Trombetta, pretty much all of these roads are in the capital and in the short-term range. Port Davidson, 20 Road, Concession 2, and...
So really, Mr. Mayor, my point is they're not losing anything. I know it comes across that way, but they're not losing anything. And all I've suggested is put this forward for a portion of again, and I know I'm going to say it again, residents of Ward 1 that have been affected by the wind projects. And I think this is a fair number, And it's fair to the residents of Ward 1 who have been affected, Mr. Mayor. That's what I'm saying.
What I would like, sorry for being so close to the mic, what I would like is a little bit of addition and subtraction numbers here so we can see what's in and what's out. That's what I was hoping that you could explain to us. So I understand that Dock Stater Bridge.
Dock Stater Bridge is out is $580,000.
Right.
585, okay? So plus what we have in this amendment here, plus this 1.2, and these is a total cost of $1.5 million. Is what? So again, nothing, as for Port Davidson and Caser town line, yes, there's sections being pulled, but it's coming from the capital the following year. So there's really nothing, it's really nothing, but that's slated in the capital.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do is make up for stuff that has been lost to the residents of Ward 1, Mr. Mayor. That's what I'm trying to do, and I think this is a fair number. I think I hope my colleagues around the table can understand where I'm coming from, and I know, and I can hear some of them say that, you know, I understand where he's coming. I didn't forget Ward 2, and I didn't ask for the whole abundance. I didn't ask for a crazy, excuse me, I didn't. I asked for a whole abundance. It's very minimal. And I think it's for residents, like I said, of Ward 1 who've been affected. I just don't want that section forgotten, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I have Councillor Chichuk and then Councillor Ganan for the first time.
I applaud the efforts of my council colleagues. I am concerned, and at the appropriate time, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make an amendment to this motion, but I would like my council colleagues to have a chance to speak, because I think the solution here, I understand what Councillor Trombetta is trying to do, and this is probably, I really can't believe that we're doing this. We've got engineers who've told us what has to get done. We went through an issue with a wind company that came up with a settlement to fix the roads that were affected by their project. But you know what? There are other people that didn't get a settlement because this council and the proponent did not offer a settlement. So let's fix everything. If all of these projects are in the short term, if we feel it's that important that we advance them all, let's fix them all. But what I do need to know is that this is the projects that won in Ward 1, the ones that Councillor Trombetta, because I don't even want to use wards, that almost seems like heresy. If the projects that are being suggested to replace projects now are affected by wind and degraded by the projects that went on, let's find a way to fix them all at once. Let's issue debt. Let's go to our reserves. Let's do something. Because I'll tell you, I'm offended by item number 7 and 8, and that is, I feel like I'm being backdoored. Because we agreed a number of years ago, and this council, and a number of my colleagues around this council table all said that the road rationalization was a great idea because it took away the parochialism of the day and trading off of road for road and white for this, for that. We've got real problems, and our staff feel that that's the case. I am very afraid of taking out a bridge, because I don't want an engineer to come and tell us that those people that just went into the water were because we decided to wait. And if that's Bridge 29 or Bridge 34, then the argument we have on the table is, and they're all in the foreseeable future, meaning the next 1 or 2 years, then this council should be talking about the fact that all wind-affected roads, I assume that they are the ones in the new amended number 5, that it's the bridge, and that we fix those and those on page appendix 5, which were what the staff said were the ones that were affected by the monies that are coming, that are available to us through a settlement that we have negotiated. And let's do it, because this is argumentative. This is not the way we do business. This is not, we don't ask our staff to go by and get a cost for surface treatment on concession 2 and come back and report back. What's that leading to? I can give you 16 roads we should have surface treatment to. So let's have all roads that need surface treatment listed. And forgive me, but I'm I am more than willing to find a way to get the roads that are on Appendix A fixed, because that's what our staff said to us from the way they evaluated things. I'm willing to make a motion to find the funding for $1.2 million for the North Chippewa Bridge 34, and I'm willing to find a way to fit all these other roads in if those are the ones that our staff tell us were affected by a turbine project. And that being said, Mr. Mayor, because if that's what's really bothering us here, then that's the argument on the table. Not should we take out that one and postpone that one. We talked about the fact that our settlement was going to replace the need for next year's money and the following year's money to have to fix roads that were in those capital budgets. And we said, hey, look, we fix those this year, then those other roads all bubble up to the top. But if it's important for us to fix all of these roads now, let's not have the argument. And I'm taking a contrary view to what some of my colleagues have said. I'm saying let's just do it. If it's, because what I see is in 5, there is $906,000 and a bridge for 1.2. Let's do it. And I'll make that motion. But I would ask that we follow process and that item 7, that in this amendment, that 7 and 8 be dropped, because we proceed to a tender. They will report back to council in the future, because they always do, and I want to see it. And that staff are not going to be directed just to do the surface treatment for one road, but that staff come back with the cost of surface treatment. I'd like to amend that to be surface treatment for all roads needing surface treatment, because golly gee, I got a list of them that I'm being called about, but I'm not bringing that forward, so let's not do it that way. Come on, guys, let's be a team. Let's fix this town and be proud of it. So my motion is to the amendment that we leave 4 in, that we leave 5 in, that number 6 be removed, because we're not going to take out anything from the original recommendation. That 7 be taken out because we are going to proceed to tender. That's what the original report says, and we will have reports back because that's how we do business here. And I want number 8 removed. Pardon me. I want number 8 to say that all the staff be directed to obtain a cost of surface treatment for all roads requiring surface treatment and report back throughout the township. Not one road, not one place, but all roads, because then we can have a fulsome discussion. And this is all because we got a settlement and there's money out there and we're arguing about it. So let's do it all. And so that's my motion, Mr. Mayor. My amendment to the amendment, and I'll need a seconder for this, is that the new number 5 stay in, the new number 6 be removed, because it removes the original. The new number 7 be removed, and number 8 be modified to say that in all roads requiring surface treatment in the township of West Lincoln be costed and a report come back to this council.
Mr. Julian, do you have a report already that says of all roads in the township of West Lincoln
Requiring surface treatment?
requiring surface treatment? You would have such a report, right? Yes, no?
You should have it.
Through you and to you, Mr. Mayor, and the members of council. I think first, from my perspective, a bit of a correction, because from what we have with the road needs study, we were following the recommendations of the road needs study and the engineering science that's in that. That's from a public works perspective.
Granted.
And so the wording is what I'm wondering about, because there are no gravel roads that require that at this point from that perspective. But I did run some numbers in looking at this, and it's in the magnitude of $16 to $18 million to do gravel roads.
Surface treatment.
Gravel roads to surface.
So, Mr. Mayor, if he's got that, he can report back. You know, because that's what I'm asking for in number 8 as amended, my amendment to the amendment.
So with all due respect, Counselor, he just gave you the information. What's the report back?
Well,
I know where you're trying to get to, but I mean,
I'm trying to
like,
get to something that we can get consensus on, because I really am concerned. But if we've got the number and it's a report back, what we need is the detail of the list, because I'm sure some of my colleagues are going to want to look at it and say, could we chip off some of these? But we actually are looking for $2 million, $2.1 million worth of work. 2.1 and 6, $2,106,000. And that would do the story. We'd be done. And that's my amendment. And you know, if nobody wants it, nobody wants to second it, but I'm saying that if we want to get done without prejudicing or taking out anything, what I'm seeing is 1.2 plus $906,000, and that is the work that wants to be done by my colleagues here. So rather than us fighting about what we're going to take out, if that's what you want to do, we have to find a solution on how to do it. We will need to borrow or find money out of our reserves, which we have the option to do.
sure we do, yeah.
And so-
And our last CAO before he left made almost a similar comment to that, you know, that we have the potential to do that with money to you know, borrow against that to equal that. If
That's right.
I'm being cryptic enough here.
So I am trying to do this and trying not to get into details, and I'm trying to stay on the clerk's good side, because I don't want to compromise what it is I promised we wouldn't. So I'm saying, this is not an argument we need to have. If that's what we really think it is, we've been ignoring it. We know what we want to do tonight. Let's not argue. Appendix A is justifiable. If these other roads are justifiable, let's just put it all in. And then if the Director of Public Works now has a number that tells us the exact number, let him come back with the detail at some point in the future, but as long as it's all the detail about all the roads that need surface treatment, what more can we ask for?
Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have Councillor Chichuk's amendment?
Through you, yes, I do have her amendment, and it reads as follows, that we would leave recommendations 4 and 5.
The new 4 and 5 as well as the old ones.
We would remove number 6. Hang on a minute here.
Remove number 6, remove number 7, and change
And change number 8.
to say all roads required surface treatment.
Be referred to staff to find a funding solution to do the roads to be presented at the July meeting, and you remove 7 and you modify 8 to say that you bring back a cost for all surface treated roads.
Right.
That's as a mover and not a seconder.
Councillor Glenn seconds that.
This is an amendment to the amendment, just so
Correct.
that you're aware.
Call the question, Mr. Mayor.
All those, okay, go ahead, Councillor Bosman, comment?
Yeah, now I'm on the horns of a dilemma, because I understand what my colleague's trying to do, and by seconding it, but now we opened up a kettle of fish already with the First Amendment. Now we're opening up a second one, which is simply, is this, let me ask the question first to the clerk, is this a type of referral? This amendment, if we pass it, is it a referral kind of thing? That they'll come back with some more information and we'll vote on this again? Or it will actually be passed here tonight?
Through you to members of council, by removing number 7, we wouldn't proceed immediately to tender, so we would be coming back with some information.
Okay. I think that's important. My grave concern, and you know, obviously we have to report back to our constituents. So we approved a budget back in the beginning of the year that had some capital projects in there.
Yes.
And our staff comes forward with a recommendation. They, I'm sure, would love to pave more roads and fix more water lines, and they would love to do it all last year. But they come forward with, you know, a process, a staged approach to this municipality because of the quantity and because of the costing. I mean, it would be nice.
Guys,
Yeah,
go ahead.
well, I just, they're having quite a conversation over there. We
Point of
come.
order, Mr. Mayor.
No point of order. Go, Councillor Bosma.
Our staff comes forward with a budget every year based on their wisdom with regards to the budget, what roads we're going to do, what roads we're not going to do. This is a little bit of a hiccup or a little bit of a, you might want to call it a windfall, but it's a settlement. And the staff came forward with a recommendation with regards to the settlement. And now we got an amendment before us that's going to open up, in effect, our budget. So here we are mid-season, we're in June of this calendar year, and we're looking at potentially, we're talking about a debenture, we're talking about going into reserves for major amounts of money mid-calendar year, mid-fiscal year, which I think is unfair, because if that's what we're going to do, then I think we need to have open houses again and get those concerned citizens that come out to these open houses, because here we are mid-season, mid-budget, and we're looking at spending millions of dollars and amending the budget in quite an obscene way. I'm just number crunching. We're looking at amending the budget by 6 or 7%, either going into reserves to do it or issuing a debenture at this time. When we entertained the First Amendment, we opened up a kettle of fish, because we went against our staff's recommendation for how to spend the settlement money. Now we're inside an amendment, amending it, that may commit us to a very, what I would say, inappropriate mid-stroke adjustment to the budget that was approved way back when. When we amend budgets, often we're just tweaking the corners. Very rare for us to go over 5% in a particular category. Here we're going, I think the number is about 7% over the entire budget of the $8 million that we spend in a year. We're looking at now, well, the number that was thrown out was $15 million for all of them. I don't think that's what we're necessarily looking at, but to me, this is very, very, very inappropriate, the amendment, inside the amendment. And I understand what my colleague was trying to do, and it was properly seconded. But that's why I'm trying to say, when we first amended this, we opened up a kettle of fish. I would like to see both these amendments drop, and we just stick with the staff report, because that is our safest. It's backed by science. It's backed by engineers. As was stated, heaven forbid, we do the one bridge that was not recommended by our engineers as the priority, and the first bridge, which was has a problem, an issue on it, that would come back, even though it might be something that comes back a couple of years from now and be done anyways. Since all the roads, the ones that were proposed in the amendment and the ones that are proposed by staff, were on the short list of capital projects to do. The same can be said for that was used by the mover of the amendment, that in a year or two, those roads that are being asked to be included in the amendment will be addressed as well. So for optics, from this council and the relationship it forms with its staff, I think it's best that this is my last time I'm going to speak, we vote down both amendments and stick with what our staff recommended to us, because it has the science and the engineers to back their decisions, and for the optics to our community, for a responsible response to our community, for those reasons. Okay. Enough said. I'm done. Thanks.
I have Councillor Ganan, and then I have Councillor Bell for the first time too as well. Councillor Ganan.
Well, I actually wanted to speak before all of that got going. And I wanted to speak to the original. The residents from all wards have been affected by this. I mean, everybody who lives in West Lincoln drives some of those roads at some of the time. And I think that the staff had put together an excellent report. They've indicated their priorities for the road repair. I know that some of the other roads have also been mentioned, but I'm thinking that it was explained to us once before by Mr. Julian that some of the road repairs that are being done out of this windfall of money, as my colleague said, will actually then be moved out of the 10-year capital plan, and some of the others can take their place. I'm thinking that it might be that 10-year capital plan that would be the answer to adjusting all of these, use the money that we have, and maybe the additional roads be moved up into their place, and perhaps we can deal with it that way. I absolutely agree, though, with Councillor Chichok that arguing among ourselves is not the answer to any of this. I think that we need to decide, what we're going to do, and I think we have to sort of defer to what our staff has said. I think for the simpler way to put it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bell?
Through you, Mayor Joyner. I guess what I'm going to say is not going to be really popular around the horseshoe. But, at the end of the day, I've listened to all this. This come forward just a couple of weeks ago, a very short time. Staff was asked to get together in a very quick manner a list of what has to be done, get it prioritized. We've heard forever and ever about roads out in the rural. We've heard about bridges that need to be done. We have a bridge here that needs to be done, Bridge 34. Obviously, it's down to one lane, and not sure how long it's going to last. We have another bridge on here on the south side. It needs to be repaired. It's at $585,000. This one's $1.2 million, so argument's sake, it's half the cost that we're looking at. The roads that are on here, as been stated by colleagues, there's many, many roads that need to be done. Community, and because we're going at all different angles tonight, I really do suggest that we need to take a break. Everybody needs to get the mind around this. Staff knows what we're looking for, I think, now through these conversations. It needs to come back in July. Does it really matter if we wait till next season to do these roads or start them late in the fall? No, because we've waited for a couple of years now. Okay, so, sorry, but I don't buy the timeline. I'm really not getting into that because it doesn't matter. We need to get our minds around where we're going. This is a whole lot of money for anyone, okay? We need to spend it wisely. If we need to look at doubling down to get our roads done, then we need to talk about that also. But for myself, yeah, I've been opposed to everything because I just don't think we got our mind around it, man. We need to get there. So I agree with the suggestion Councilman Wilson made that we just need to scrap everything. Let's go back to square one, send it back to staff to get more information on what it is we're really looking for, and let's have a discussion that's meaningful, not trying to cut this out, put that in. I mean, there's so many amendments on the table, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the hell we're amending. Sorry, but excuse me for saying that. But it's terrible.
Certainly sounded like one.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
I think we need to all get our minds around it. And, as a council, I'm not sure I want to watch this on YouTube. I'll be honest with you. So anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
You're leaving me hanging, Councillor.
Well, okay, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm saying that I would like to see everything on the table scrapped. Let's refer it back to staff until July. Let's get some real facts and figures. Let's get some real recommendations. Let's talk about Bridge 34. Let's talk about Bridge 29. We do talk about these bridges. Yeah, that money's there. It was meant to be and to repair the roads that were damaged. Totally understood. I get that. And if that's the direction we want, we know we need a lot of money. So then let's double down our funds. Let's borrow another $6 million. Give us $12 million. Let's go out there and get done what we can with bridges, with the roads, and let's move on. Let's look at our capital, see what is coming up in that short term. There are 2 or 3 projects that are there now, as I understand it. So let's get that all sorted out and organized, and I believe that as a community, we can walk away as winners. Nobody's going to win, nobody's going to lose, and the community gets back together again. I've always said that, distinguishing between Ward 1, Ward 2, and Ward 3 is not what it's all about. It's one community. And we've made a lot of tough decisions so far this year. This is just another one on the table. But I believe we need to do it right. So if it means we gotta wait until the fall to sort this out, so be it. And I know the residents won't be happy with that, but let's do it right.
Okay, so it's a referral that's to a date and time, or a deferral that's to a date and time?
Defer to a date and time.
So, Counselor, are you deferring this to the July committee council meeting?
July, August, whatever time is needed to get the right information that we can discuss it in the right way to make sure that we cover everything. I'm here in September, I'm good with September. Because I don't believe it's urgent for us to get out there and spend this amount of money tomorrow.
I'll second that motion.
You know, so I'm going to say September.
September Public Works
September
meeting.
sounds
Okay.
reasonable.
So I have a seconder in Counselor Bylsma, right? You put your hand if you wanted to second that. So, seeing no other comments or questions, I'll call the vote. Hands up high, and all of those who, Mr. Julian?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to advise, I am actually on holidays, I believe, in that
can't go,
September, on that September meeting, right? And not in the province.
Probably the best thing you can do is write the report and then go on holiday, so you don't have to be here for
I
the
have
meeting.
it right here.
You'll have time to write the report.
We could move it right over then, and say time is not of an essence. We need our director of public works here to answer these questions.
Okay, so October it is, October Public Works.
Does the secretary agree?
Do you agree with that, seconder? Yeah, he does.
We'll get a recorded vote also.
Councillor Abel has asked for a recorded vote for the referral to October's Public Works meeting.
Actually, move it to the budget.
Well, it's actually, it's a good point, because I'm hearing it, is that that's playing into 218's budget talks too as well,
Move
right?
it into
So,
the budget process, and then that way we'll have a full summary.
no, let's leave it at October, and then we'll move that into the budget process.
So for the deferral, Counselor Bell. Counselor Bylsma.
I'm in favor.
Counselor Chichuk.
In favor.
Counselor Gahan.
In favor.
Counselor Rayner.
Not,
Counselor Trombetta.
not in support.
Mayor Joyner.
In support.
It's carried. Okay.
Okay. So, all of these I'll just put to the side, right, Madam Clerk? I don't sign these? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we'll go to Councilor Chichuk, Niagara Region Development Charges Bylaw, background report under separate cover for discussion. Councilor Chichuk?
Mr. Mayor, I guess I know that my colleagues become weary after our hearty debate, but maybe if we could do two things. If we could find out from Mr. Treble, through you, Mr. Mayor, when it is the region, I believe it's next Thursday, but I'll defer to him, that when is the region going to look at the development charges, and perhaps he could give us an overview of what he understands are the major changes in it. And if he doesn't, I have a few comments to make, and I'll make those.
There's been some changes, right, Mr. Treble? You know those changes, so go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the good news in all of the discussion at the region is that there is some added time to do more review. Regional Corporate Services met last Wednesday morning, I believe it was, and agreed to refer the report back to staff, asking staff to do another consultation with the local area municipalities, with the intent of having it go back before Corporate Services on July the 12th, and I believe then that means Regional Council on July the 20th. Which is before,
yes, that's correct.
Which is before our July council meeting here at the township. However, having said that, the report as proposed by the region with a couple of minor adjustments, generally is in keeping with the approach that's been going on to date. There have been some changes that have been for clarification purposes, but aren't really changes in direction at the region. But the one that was kind of important was that the development charges grant program for industrial development continue, and the reality is that they've agreed to do that. The report as proposed by staff allows for industrial development charges to be granted back,
Right.
Which has been going on now for a few years, and they've agreed to extend that for the 5-year duration of the new proposed development charge. So that to me is the one big thing that I think was causing some angst among some of the lower tier municipalities, but it continues.
Okay.
So just, Mr. Mayor, tomorrow morning is the meeting that regional staff have called, and I think once our Director of Finance and I attend that, we'll come back more informed and better able to speak to concerns, if any. So my ears are open tonight in terms of what concerns this council may have, so I can take those forward tomorrow, listen, learn, and report back.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you for that, and I apologize for leaving because I wanted to make sure our Director of Public Works was there for a couple of reasons. But
Your mic's not on. Just put your mic on. Yeah, that's good.
okay, so number one, I appreciate that we are going to have more time, and I did hear that from you and from others. I think in future we need to make sure that all of this council is informed very early on, like in April, like other councils did, and we get a chance to look at this, because I must say, personal agenda items in my family made it very difficult to look at this. But so I would ask that we make that a point in the future. So the other thing is, while I do agree with Mr. Treble, and I was listening while I went out to get Mr. Julian, that those were two worrisome issues, and other municipalities have brought those forward. But I guess the big issue for us is, not to harp on a project of roads, but if we're talking about the growth that's going to happen in West Lincoln, and we're going to be doing our own development charges, we need to be absolutely sure that the bypasses, the mid-peninsula connectors, the cross, the what the heck is the name of the ones coming up Park Road? It's a bypass of sorts to get around Smithville, that those are in early and in fully funded as growth occurs, both here and throughout the peninsula.
So that's one thing you want Mr. Treble to check on tomorrow.
Mr. Treble and Mr. Julian, because I think...
Well, I don't think Mr. Julian's going. Mr. Treble is going with Ms. DeFilippis.
We have a copy of the background report
Right.
with a list of all the projects, which would then, regardless of whether or not it's there, I looked at it, but I apologize, not being fully aware of each connective piece. There's sewers, there's water, because they're going to have to dig up roads. And then there's the whole issue of how the bypasses have been decided and what is going to be put in. If we're going to take that growth, if we're going to see any growth, and however it gets here, we need to start knowing that all those projects are in there. And that's all I'm asking Mr. Julian for, is to inform our treasurer and our director of planning with making sure that the roads we're going to need, the bypasses we're going to need, the connection links we're going to have, and any other things that we need in West Lincoln that are on regional roads, that they're done. So I hate to use that four-letter word, road, but I'm going to. And the other big thing, not to get into a big debacle about what's going on, I guess first of all, we probably need our staff to send out a recap of what happened at the staff meeting prior to our next cycle, because we're likely going to miss what's going on.
And that's what he said when you were out of the room.
No, I heard that.
Yeah, okay.
I heard that. That's what I'm saying. And the other thing that I'm looking at, Mr. Mayor, is that across the region, and I'm concerned about this, is that there is an expectancy across the region for the number of occupants per household to decrease, actually. So, in other words, a number of, and I'd like for us to understand that. And if we look at the background study in Schedules 3 and 4, those are the occupants per household multiplied by the number of people that are planning on decreasing in some of the years that are coming forward. That's very important to us, because regardless of our plan and our secondary planning, if the region's looking at more houses that are geared towards a middle essence or through a younger single family, or pardon me, single people, we need to know that, because we need to understand where they're planning on putting that and what that does to our plans, even though we're supposed to be getting the allocation of growth the region's taking, and how does that all work? And I apologize, I just scanned through this thing. I don't mean this to sound like a lecture.
Well,
but
it's this thick, right? It's 3.5 inches thick, so.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. So I'd be happy to point out some other things, Mr. Treble, because I'm not intending to be an expert on this, but those are the things that I'm worried about, is that Mr. Julian understand in the detail of the background study report, every project the region plans on doing throughout the period of this development charge is in there. How much is growth related, how much is going to be picked up by the region, that's fine. If there's anything that's supposed to be given to existing growth, if they plan on sharing it with the municipality, and the fact that somewhere in there, the 25-year growth forecast suggests that the gross population is going to reduce. So we need to assimilate those numbers, and if it's region-wide, that's fine. Then our own development charge will be different. But those are the kind of things we need to talk about when Mr. Treble and Ms. DeFilippis come back to us, so that we can understand what the region's doing to attract or reduce their development charges, but still have the money to do all the work that we need them to do. That's the essence of where we're going. So not a heavy-duty thing that I called you back for, Mr. Director, but just so that you can be sure that the region's picking up their fair share and has it in there in a timeline that is good for us. That's really, I guess, all we could say tonight without getting into the background of the background story. And as you said, it was 3 inches, and sleepy reading.
Right, and it is going to be a little bit of a feat for both the directors, all three of the directors, to actually go through it, because, like I said, it is 3.5 inches thick, and it's pretty in depth. So if we can have everybody's questions of what they're concerned about as far as the DCs, then they can play detective and synthesize, right, good word, and search out those specific details that they're looking for, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and that's really the essence of what I think we should go to in tonight's discussion. Yes.
Okay. Brent, Mr. Julian?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Chichuk and all of council, I haven't had a chance to go through the DC study. I do know with the region and their transportation master plan, it's the escarpment crossing is the one element that you're concerned with, and that is still on the books, although it's still quite long-term. And we did make assurance through that process that the Smithville bypass was not being forgotten. But again, very long-term. I don't know if it's going to be in the scope of that DC study. It was not clear from the region at that point. And I know, well, if you look back at the escarpment crossing, it started in the 1990s, and they're basically resetting the clock again, right? So
yeah, well, now's the time to get it in there, in my opinion.
So therein, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Julian has just confirmed for me the kind of things that we need to know, so that you can say it. Having only one voice at the region, we need to get you fully armed for bear, so that we can get some of these understandings there. Okay?
Mr. Treble.
Just one final point to follow up on Mr. Julian. Although the escarpment crossing and the Smithville bypass aren't jumping off the page at us, there are some water upgrades and sewer upgrades that are proposed that will benefit the West Lincoln area, and specifically Smithville, that are in here. I have found them. Mr. Julian and I had the benefit of a meeting with the region and some of their consulting team to understand better what some of those proposals where as they relate to West Lincoln. So we can share those as part of any future report back as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Councillor Bell?
Yeah. Through me, Adjourner. I believe it was asked last time, we could bring in the author from the region to talk to us about this, DC charges, review it with us.
Well, we certainly can try. That would be Watson and Associates, and that would probably cost the region a little bit of money to do that. I think what the other thing that we could do is we could bring in someone from the region who helped author this document with Watson and Associates to do that. And I do know that I'm meeting next Wednesday, July 5th at noon with Councillor Quirk from Grimsby to go over this DC. So you're all welcome to join me too as well. Wednesday at noon, July 5th. He's coming here. So he doesn't profess to know everything about it, but he is on that development charge task force, so he does know a lot about it. So, okay?
Mr. Mayor, was that 12?
No, 5th.
What time?
Noon.
So, oh yeah, noon, 12, yep. Yeah, we can do sandwiches. Acting CEO Clerk, Christmas Light Program, verbal update. Ms. Langley, if you could, please.
Through you to members of council, I just wanted to let you know that an RFP was put out for renewing the Christmas Light Program. We've received a submission from among others, the person that currently is doing it, and we got a better price than last time. So we'll be signing for another 3-year agreement to do the same program we currently have, and I just wanted to give you that update.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions? Okay. We'll move on to, again, Acting CAO Clerk, West Lincoln Community Care, request for placement of donation bins. Councillor Trombetta, you have that resolution, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bosma that the request from West Lincoln Community Care to put donation bins at Wellingport and Caseville Library and 2 other locations in Smithville be approved in principle, as well as a pilot project be referred to staff and West Lincoln Public Library to work with community care and suitable locations for the bins.
I'd like to maybe change this a little bit too. Let me read it again. Moved by Councillor Trombetta and seconded by Councillor Bosman that the request from West Lincoln Community Care to put donation bins at the Wellingport and Caseville Library in 2 other locations in Smithville be approved in principle as a pilot project and be referred to staff and the West Lincoln Public Library to work with community care. Okay, so our staff is in there. Okay, I'm fine with that then. I just didn't hear our staff with community care on suitable locations for the bins. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, members of council remarks. I'll start from my right. Councillor Bell? None? Councillor Bosma?
None.
Okay. Councillor Gannett?
Well, I just want to say how wonderful the flags are, but after today's storms, they may need to be checked. I've noticed already coming tonight that some of them
They've,
were already
they've
asleep.
accordioned their curtains a little bit,
They
yeah.
have. But when they were flying in the sunlight, they looked wonderful.
Yeah.
Hopefully they really will get around sunset.
Yeah, I noticed that, and Mr. Julian has left, but he's also, we've had conversation about that today, him and I, and we're going to be sending some staff up there to do something with twist ties or something to make sure that they stay tight. Thank you for that. Councillor Chichuk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My only comment is to say that the fascination of fireworks at Poultry Fest, aside from the fact that every child I know that was under 7, and there was 5 of them that came back to my house, were soaked from the jumping equipment, the air, what do you call those things?
Bouncy castles.
Yeah, bouncy castles.
And
I gotta tell you,
inflatables.
they had a great time in those bouncy castles, but the fireworks were those awe-inspired moments that just made you look around the crowd and say, this is worth having. So our first event, West Lincoln likes to celebrate and doesn't like to argue. It's West Lincoln's first event, the Poultry Fest, opened up our celebration for Canada 150, and I was very pleased to be there and see so many other people from all over coming to help us celebrate. And the only travesty on the whole day, aside from the burst of rain and the bouncy castles getting wet, was the fact that the 4-H booth's milkshake machine broke. And
Yes,
there
that was a tragedy.
You telling me I was putting on a lot of miles trying to find parts, but I understand that that's in good hands today, and that in the very near future they'll be back in business. So, thank you.
Is that in relation to back bacon? Never mind.
Never mind.
Councillor Trombetta? Nothing. Councillor Rayner? Okay, I just want to say Poultry Fest was a great event actually this year, and the main concert featuring Carrie Isabella, she was extraordinary. She was really good and professional, and I would say worth every penny actually. almost 2 encores, so it was a good time, good fireworks. Okay, so we'll move on to bylaws, and Councillor Bylsma, you have that resolution, actually. Now, which ones have to be taken out or dealt with, Madam Clerk? None? They're all good. Okay, go ahead, Councillor.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Trombetta, that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2017 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, and 76, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and the clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Thank you, councillors. It's a lot easier now, Your Worship, eh? So how we do it compared to a lot faster. Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Bylsma and second by Councillor Trombetta. Is there any comments or questions about the bylaws?
I think we're lazier now than we were before.
I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. But we drink less water, Councillor.
That's right.
Okay, so confidential matters, resolution. Councillor Ganand, you have that resolution to go into closed session.
I do. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bylsma that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 239 to Section 2 of the Municipal Act 2001. A, Acting CAO Clerk Carolyn Langley. Re, Personnel Matters, Staffing, applicable closed session exemptions, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Madam Clerk?
Sorry, if we could add personal matters about identifiable individuals also.
You want to add that to there, please? Thank you, councillors, for the resolution moved by Councillor Ganand and second by Councillor Bylsma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, everyone. We're going into closed session.
Do you want to take a 5?
Yeah, let's take 5 minutes too, if we could.